Good morning. My name is Nikita and I'm the CEO of Neon. I'm recording this from a hotel in Texas. So welcome you all to Neon Developer Days. At Neon, we are on a mission to build the best managed Postgres in the cloud. How are we going to achieve that? The answer is great developer experience. So Neon is fast, it's snappy, it's serverless. It also supports your workflows and integrates with all your favorite tools like Vercel, Hasura, and Replit. Neon has been growing. It took us about 6 months to cross 10,000 databases, and then another 3 months to cross 20,000. Today, we are running at about 22,000 databases on the platform. Well, today, all of those databases are free. So we felt like it's about time to launch our paid tiers. And with that, I want to introduce our consumption-based pricing model. And I want to mention that consumption-based pricing model is kind of a big deal. We could only deliver on the consumption-based pricing because Neon's serverless architecture of separating storage and compute. And while the result is very simple, we charge you for the amount of data you store and how fast you go, the amount of compute, there is a lot of engineering that went into it. So please go on neon.tech/pricing to see what the pricing model looks like. And of course, sign up to the pro tier. So out of those 22,000 databases and 22,000 users who spun up those databases, we got a lot of feature requests. And one of the most common ones were, well, I want to store more data and want to burn more compute than the free tier allows. So with that, I'm very proud to announce that today we're launching autoscaling. Now you can allocate as many resources on a per second basis as your workload requires. So how does it work? The system actually listens to the telemetry coming out of the compute nodes. And then we adjust the size of those compute nodes accordingly, right? If your workload requires more compute that you're currently consuming or requires more memory that you're currently consuming, a signal comes back to our scheduler and we say, okay, well, increase the amount of compute. There's a cool technology that sits underneath those capabilities, and that's a VM-based technology. So we basically grow or shrink the size of the VMs, and we run Postgres inside of those VMs. We also can move those VMs around and perform what's called live VM migration to move a VM from a node which might not have enough resources to a node that has plenty more resources so we can scale your workload even further. Additionally to scaling storage and compute, we realized, thanks to our users, that we should also be scaling database connections. Professional Postgres users know that Postgres does not allow you to create a lot of connections. So the number is configurable, but it's generally about like 100 connections or so. To overcome that problem, there is a product that's called PG Bouncer that Postgres community recommends to put in front of Postgres. So you can have a lot more what is called pooled connections. Well, at Neon, we do this automatically. And so today we're introducing database connection scaling, where we already give you 10,000 pooled connections. And then in the future, we'll be scaling even beyond 10,000 connections with the size of your compute. So when your workload will start initiating more and more connections, which is particularly important in the serverless environments where you're operating out of a Cloudflare worker or a Vercel Edge function or Vercel serverless function, where you just want to connect to the database, fire up a few commands and disconnect from the database. And sometimes that disconnect doesn't even happen. And so we kind of garbage collect those connections automatically. So again, today we're offering you 10,000 connections and that number will only grow in the future to a point where you don't have to think about connections at all. A few months ago, we introduced what we call a serverless driver. And a serverless driver is it allows you to connect from an edge environment, from a serverless environment, from Cloudflare Worker, Vercel Edge function, or directly from a browser to Neon. And the way the serverless driver works, it's kind of clever. It tunnels Postgres wire protocol through the WebSocket, and Neon managed Postgres opens up a WebSocket, and then we tunnel Postgres wire protocol through the WebSocket into Postgres. Now, in this release, we took a very, very hard look at the performance of the serverless driver and at the end-to-end latencies that are happening between, the application and Neon. And then communication is happening through the serverless driver and then through TCP within the Neon platform. So, I'm proud to announce that we dramatically improved the performance of our serverless driver. And later today, there's going to be a talk by George Macaron talking about the specific techniques. Mostly that's pipelining, but there are some really cool things that we've discovered as we built the serverless driver that really impacted our latencies. And today, our latencies are a lot smaller than they were, 2 months ago. AI is definitely top of mind of every technology company today. And the general understanding is we don't know how exactly, but AI is going to disrupt every single company in the world. And so you either embrace it or perish. So with this release, I want to announce a couple things that we're doing on the AI front. The first one is a very popular extension that became popular overnight. It's called PG Vector. We now support this extension on the platform. And what this extension does, it allows you to do vector math, and it supports an index on vectors. And that index allows you to very, very quickly compute the top K closest vectors to the data set of vectors that are in the database. Now, why that's important? Well, that's important for this modern search and AI workflow where you can take content and send it to OpenAI, and OpenAI will generate embeddings based on that content. Those embeddings are vectors, and you can store vectors inside of this PG Vector extension in a special data type that PG Vector introduces, and then perform that top K search against those embeddings that are stored in the database. Another extension that we're launching today is called PG Tick Token. And that's an extension that we've built basically for convenience inside Neon. All it does is it's a wrapper against a tick token library produced by OpenAI that allows you, given a text, split it into tokens, into OpenAI tokens, or do a count of those tokens. And there's some blog posts that we published about PG Tick Token that walk you through of how to build a modern AI application where you take capabilities of OpenAI. When you create embeddings, you store embeddings in the PG Vector, inside Neon, obviously, inside Postgres running on the Neon platform. And then when you actually interact with an application, you use PG Tick Token because you need to estimate the number of tokens you're going to produce and do not overflow the OpenAI context window. So now I want to mention something that is very, very special to Neon, and those are our strategic partnerships. In the past few months, we launched our strategic partnership with Replit. And for those who don't know, Replit is this fantastic company and fantastic product. It's an IDE. That is an end-to-end IDE, which you can log into and build your app and host your app. And you don't need to leave Replit to go from your inception, from an idea to a functioning app, which you host right there on the Replit platform. And since every professional app requires a database, Replit and Neon became partners, and Neon provides a Postgres database for every Replit application. So if you're a user of Replit, you can go ahead, click a button, and you're going to get Postgres. One thing with Replit, which excites me tremendously, actually, is their focus on generative apps. So now you can basically create a natural language description of an app, and Replit will generate code for the whole app, end to end, obviously including querying the database. And so, Neon's very excited to be the backbone of this next generation, what we call AI applications. Another strategic partnership that we launched, and this is just the first step, is our partnership with Vercel. Vercel is this fantastic platform, mostly for the front-end developers, but it's actually expanding at becoming a developer platform to support end-to-end professional applications. Now, what's interesting about Vercel is they're the creator of Next.js, which is one of the most popular JavaScript frameworks. They are able to take your code and run it at the edge, and they also connect to your GitHub repo so that you can do deploys, so you can deploy code on Vercel. And as you develop your app, you want to see how your code is going to look like in production before you actually push it in production. And that's a feature of Vercel. It's called Vercel Previews. Now, this feature works super, super well on your front-end code and your front-end repo, but it kind of stops there. The integration that we built with Vercel allows that feature to go all the way from the front end to business logic, to the code that's running at the edge, all the way to the database. And the way this works is Neon actually supports branches. And you, at any point in time, can create a branch of the database. You will have a separate endpoint for connecting and interacting with the database. And then that integrates very, very naturally into the Vercel workflow, that every preview now can have a Neon branch, and you have a fully sandboxed environment that goes, from database to front end, or from front end to the database. And that's the environment you can share. That's the environment you can collaborate with. And that's the environment that does not disrupt your production environment. Because, before Neon, you would have to really copy all the data from a production environment database, create a test staging environment. Now with Neon branching, you can just create a branch and associate this branch with the Vercel preview. So I can't be more excited about those strategic partnerships, and expect more things to come, and we'll be announcing them both as they come, and we'll be highlighting them during our developer days. The last thing I want to mention is that Neon is hiring. And obviously all our positions are up there on the website. We have positions, in the systems department, working on our Rust-based storage engine. We have positions in our control plane, and that's written mostly in Go. And then we have positions on our front-end team, where we're working in our console, and the developer experience of interacting with Neon visually. There is one more position I want to highlight today, and what I want to announce is that we're now building and starting a core Postgres engine team. So in addition to our storage engine, which is a complex system projects built from scratch at Neon, we would like to have a core Postgres contribution team. And one of our co-founders, Heikki Linnakangas, is a longtime Postgres committer. In fact, he's incredibly prolific. We also have a number of Postgres hackers on the team already with a history of contributions into the core Postgres engine. So now we in a way are formalizing this thing. And what I'm announcing is we're building a core Postgres engine team. We're hiring system engineers into this Postgres team, and we'll be welcoming already established Postgres hackers, but we also welcoming system engineers who would like to learn how to contribute into Postgres. And we have plenty expertise here at Neon to teach people of how to become database engineers and how to contribute into this fantastic open source project, which is Postgres. With that, I would like to wrap. Please tune in for the upcoming technical deep dives at Neon Developer Days. I promise very interesting and very deep content today. And again, I'm super excited to announce Neon Developer Days.